All right, so in this swing trade recap, I'm going to be going over three swings. One was a holiday weekend swing that some members, including myself, sold out of Tuesday morning, and then a few other members sold out today, or this morning, I should say, Wednesday morning, and that was PayPal 300 calls. And then two more swings that I swung along with my team from Tuesday close into Wednesday morning was solar swings. We hit the solar sector pretty hard and we came away really happy with it. We swung SPWR and CSIQ calls. But to kick this video off, I'm going to be going over PayPal. So PayPal was pretty clean and cut conviction behind this nice trade. On the daily, if you see what I have drawn here, take notice of, let me switch my fib levels around here real quick for everybody. If you notice what I have drawn here, notice my fib levels and then notice the 9 EMA and notice the pattern I have drawn. All right, those three things is what I'm going to be going over. Bull flagging on the 9 EMA. We got pretty overextended on the daily. If you follow candles right here, look how far away price is from the daily 9 EMA. But notice what buyers are doing. They're not really letting PayPal, except for this one particular day on July 1st, they're not letting price really go down. And if you notice this candle right here from July 1st, notice the long wick. Buyers stepped in and they kept price up. And notice with this bull flag, notice where they flagged it right into. They flagged it into the 9 EMA, and then boom, look what ends up happening. July 2nd, notice again, buyers come in clutch right there at the 9 EMA. And then finally July 6th, and then especially today, PayPal is taking a leg up. So this was really a 3-day swing for some people. We could have held it for whenever. Really technical support never broke, but we ended up hitting 30% plus easy on this swing. Many people ended up hitting, I think, 40 to 60% as well from this trade. Now let's look and see what we have here. Buyer stepped in at the 9 EMA, and then finally look at Tuesday's opening candle, almost said Monday. It bounces right off the 9 EMA. So this bull flag was perfect. Now another thing, why did I choose this option? I chose 716 300 calls. Okay, so upside targets. Flagging onto the 9 EMA. This 9 EMA, a close below the 9 EMA was my stop loss. Okay, upside targets though. My first price target was 296. Okay, and why is that my first price target? Because I'm following fib levels. Okay, if technical support broke here for PayPal, which technical support being the 9 EMA, it was going to drop down to the 21 EMA or the 78.6% fib level, which was all the way down at 282.66. But technical support never held, okay? We entered this trade on July 2nd. Notice what they did the day before on July 1st, which was a Thursday. They bought price up. They kept the price up. The buyers are strong in PayPal. Look at this when you are swinging. Learn to read price action. When you can tell that buyers are strong and they want to keep price up, you will see candles like this. They closed it over the 9 EMA. That is bullish. They wanted to keep price up. And today, finally, you have that big leg up. It looks like price came all the way up to $299.32, so less than $1 away from these calls being in the money. I'm sure at market open today, they were 100%, but this was a cheaper option that I exposed to many of my members that is on a big name. This was when we entered $8 out of the money. Today, it was less than $1 out of the money. So PayPal, it's a bigger name, but we chose an option that was so far out of the money. It was very cheap premium, and it allowed exposure to a big name for smaller and mid-sized accounts, and that is my specialty. Our fill was $1.65. I personally sold at around 30 to 40%, I believe, but I know one member this morning sold for $3.20 on that option. So that's a very, very nice exposure to a bigger name that normally small to mid-sized accounts don't get the option to trade, and I was able to I was able to provide that setup for them, okay? And if you wanted to stick in this swing, you had every reason to from Tuesday into Wednesday. Notice the volume bar from Tuesday. The volume bar from Tuesday was bigger than Friday's. So obviously buyers stepped in again. Look where they opened it. Opened it right at the 9 EMA, and they rocket price up. They closed at 292.60. They hit a high of 294.56, and that's right around where we sold. We all sold that top. This top came in from Tuesday, I believe, around 10:30, I believe. It took a little while for PayPal to get moving, but it ended up coming back for us, and we were able to sell for really nice profit. And then, of course, today I know one member in my team sold for $320, and my fill was $165, to give you an idea of how that profit worked out for us. All right, my next trade is SPWR. Now, solar names, they're doing different now, but if we look at what they were doing yesterday, We caught the move and we sold it open, and we had a beautiful sell because they have done nothing but fade their move for the rest of the day. Let me go ahead and rearrange my chart here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so I can break this down for everybody accurately. SPWR, SunPower Corporation. Notice what price is doing here on the 4-hour. We're looking right here because this is today's candle, and we had a great sell. We sold right at the open within the first 10 minutes of open. Price since then has faded, but that's okay because we're done and out. We sold our cons for profit, and that's all that matters. Notice what price is doing right here. We're bouncing at the 21 EMA on the 4-hour. The 21 EMA, that is a nice moving average where buyers tend to step in. That's a technical support level. In this case, it's technical support. It can be resistance, but in this case, it is technical support. That support level held, and that's where buyers stepped in. 1, 2, 3 candles, especially yesterday's candles showing a double bottom off the 21 EMA. The buyers were present. Now, let's look at fibs. How did I choose this option? It was a risky, high-risk, high-reward trade because I went at the money. I chose 7/16/30 calls for SPWR. We sold for around 30 to 35%. If you want to check my Instagram page, you will see members' profits who swung this position. He sold for 35%, solid a couple $100 gain for him, no matter, or depending on how much or how many contracts you held, Notice the buyers step in. Now, how did I choose 30? Well, I wanted to do higher risk, high reward because I knew I would have to sell out at this morning. It was going to be a one-night hold for us. Notice my fib levels. Price closed above the 38.2% fib. That means, following the rules of fibs, price is going to hit 61.8. Notice where that is dollar-wise. It's $30.04. That's how I chose my option. We end up getting a beautiful gap up in SPWR off of this. We opened at 30.43, so almost we were 40 cents in the money on a smaller name like SPWR. That's a very, very good move. We were able to get that nice gap up into open, and price actually rocketed a little bit after open. As you can see, it hit a high of 31.49, 31.50, and that's where it started to reverse. So we were over $1 in the money at one point on this trade, depending on where you sold. That's another beautiful swing trade that we were able to capitalize on. All right, let me look at my notes here, make sure I'm not missing anything. On to CSIQ. This was another solar name, Canadian Solar, as my chart updates here real quick for us. Let me plug this back in. Here we go. Sorry about that. CSIQ. We have another one. Let me go ahead and switch my fib levels here. Got to keep reversing. Thank you, TradingView. So we are right here. This is today's daily candle. Notice again, we had a settler pop it open, and then we faded the entire move, but that is okay. This is yesterday's action, July 6th. These are the 4-hour candles. These are today's candles, July 7th. Looking at July 6th price action on the 4-hour. In the first half of the day, notice this long wick. Buyers stepped in. Now, not necessarily the 21 EMA this time, but buyers stepped in. That tells me they didn't want to keep price, or they didn't want price to go any lower. Now, that's the first half of the day. I entered these swings a little bit before close, somewhere in the 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock hour during power hour. Now notice the second half of the day, 4-hour candle. Price stayed up, and they closed it above the 9 EMA. That was key. That was the last technical resistance we had to close above. If price closed below that, that's a resistance we have to get over. But in this case, price closed above it. That was a support we had to get over. Now, notice where price bounced. It bounced just above the 38.2% fib level. Consider that move done. Now look where price reclaimed, and look where it held. It held the 50% fib level. Following the rules of fibs, 61.8 is still in play. If we look at the closing price of yesterday, it looks like we closed right around 43.74. This was another high-risk, high-reward trade. I chose 7/16/44 calls. I went at the money on these solar swings because I wanted to reap the reward. I wanted that higher profit because the more at the money your option is, and then once you go in the money, the higher your delta is. Now, these are both smaller names. They're going to have a gamma as well. Once you go in the money, your gamma goes down. But because they were not in the money yet when I entered them, they still had a relevant gamma. I believe both of their deltas were well above 0.30. I think CSIQ in particular was almost a delta of 0.47 or 0.50. That is a beautiful delta for a smaller cap name as well, but we were at the money, so that's why. Of course, at the money means that it is going to be more expensive, so that's where the higher risk comes into play. If we traded an out of the money option or an out of the money call, it would have been lower reward because our delta and gamma would have been lower, so we wouldn't have made as much money versus an at the money call, which had a higher delta, so we would have made more money. But out of the money call, it's less expensive, so it's less risky. So I chose high risk, high reward on this particular trade, or excuse me, these particular solar swings, and they paid off wonderfully. We caught another gap up. If you notice here, CSIQ today opened at 44.82. That's almost $1 in the money for our swings. Now notice where CSIQ ended up running this morning, and ended up running to 46.81. That puts us over $2 in the money on this swing. That was another beautiful swing that we were able to capitalize. And remember, we don't want to be greedy. Many of our members sold it open. I'm sure there were a few people that held on past that and were able to capitalize this big run up. But of course, you are never greedy. You take what the market gives you. And this is a great example of not being greedy, because look what Solar Names did today. They gapped up, they pumped it open, and then they faded their entire move. They filled their gap down, and quite frankly, this is a little bit bearish price action. But with that being said, these are 3 swings that were great for all account sizes. I specialize in helping small accounts grow. If you're a new trader, come join my team. That is my specialty. PayPal, I was able to give my members exposure to a bigger name that reaped high rewards. Again, from going from 165 on an option all the way up to 320 plus. Beautiful move. SPWR, CSIQ, both smaller names. We were able to flip them for 30 all the way up to, I believe, 50% plus in profit. Our contracts were easily in the money for CSIQ, as I just showed you, over $2 in the money. If you have any questions for me about myself as a trader and my team, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And please, if you did enjoy this trade recap video, please like and subscribe.